Welcome back to the Political Christian channel. This is Brent, your host, and I am coming to you with a multi-part discussion. It might not all happen simultaneously. We might have some breaks in the middle depending on what happens in the news, and there has been a lot of news. It has been over a week since I posted the last video. It's been a little crazy. I am doing online classes and have two kids, so it gets a little interesting around here sometimes. So I wanted to at least get this up. There is a lot of stuff going on in the political scape right now, and there is a lot of craziness happening right now, but a lot of it's noise, and I don't want to really address any of it until some of the dust has settled along some of it. That's not to say that I won't address stuff when it first happens, but a lot of this is really silly and it doesn't really affect us. It's just noise, like I said. So I don't really want to touch on that, but I did want to start a multi-part series about um, a couple tweets that I sent out earlier this week. One of them was asking how Jesus would feel about your political views, and also put out a poll earlier today that should be closed by now, just asking what political party you feel might align more with a biblical worldview, which is interesting. Let me go see if I can find that real quick. Right here, I don't edit these videos, so you get to see all the raw, hard footage of me looking for this frantically through my crazy Twitter feed. They don't put out notifications for this stuff. They don't tell you when your polls are done, which is kind of annoying. I don't see it right now. Last I saw, there was two under the Republican vote and none under Democrat. I guess not a very popular poll. Um, at least not one that people wanted to put on there. But oh, there it is. There it is. 2 votes. Yep, completed at 2 votes. Which one of them was me on my personal account? So doesn't look like I wavered the decisions of people there too much because only one other person voted and they voted Republican. So the general consensus of 2 people, one being me on Twitter, is that Republicans generally have a more biblical worldview. I know a lot of Democrats that are Christians and they would disagree. I'm going to actually use these videos to kind of talk about that and talk about why I don't believe that certain things on either side, really. If you look at either side and how they do business, it's not all 100% biblical. You can't really say one party is more biblical than the other in certain regards. There's a flaw in each, multiple flaws in each. But I am going to look at some key issues that should be important to us Christians, and we're going to talk about the stances of those. Today, tonight, whenever you're watching this, well, right now it's 10:35 while I'm recording this on Friday, October 20th. So kind of late getting started, and my internet's down. I'm just looking at it right now, so that's very sad. I might not be able to post this video tonight because my internet provider hates me. So, but we're going to talk about a couple topics. Actually, I was going through. I'm not going to do this for every single one, but I did skim through the Democrats. Oh, I'm blanking. What is that called? Their doctrine, their thing that they follow. Oh, I feel like I'm failing right now. It'll come to me in a minute, but I was going through it and I thought there was a couple notable things in it that needed to be mentioned. I'm not going to go through, like I said, I'm not going to go through it for every instance and every video in this little multi-part thing that's looking through the political parties and their views. We're going to talk more about what the general views of the voters and the people that are voting into office generally are for these different topics. Today's is actually going to be the topic that no one really likes to address except for when they're online and they don't have to deal with the consequences of people's upsetness with them over their feelings on this subject, abortion. So I have friends that are Christian. I'm assuming they're Christian. They say they're Christian, so I'll take their word for it. Who have stated that they are pro-abortion. They are pro-choice, would be the technical term. And I very strongly disagree with this, but not just because of my own merit. Granted, there is a lot of my own merit, and we're going to talk about that, how to intelligently discuss this without having to use religion, because a lot of people think this is just a religious thing. It's really not a religious thing. It's really a human rights thing. But let's discuss it from a biblical perspective too, because this is the political Christian channel, right? So I noticed a couple things while I was going through the Democrats' doctrine, and I swear I'll think of the name of it here soon. I don't know why it's erasing from me now, probably because it's 10:37 on Friday night. I just worked full week and went over some homework a little earlier, so I might be brain fried. I don't think I'm too brain fried to do this video though, so let's go for it. So what's really funny is at the very top, towards the top, I took screenshots because it's a huge document. There's a lot of things going on there. And I took screenshots of it so I could recall it. And under the appointing judges section of this, are you ready for this? We will appoint, this is the Democrats, we will appoint judges who defend the constitutional principles of liberty and equality. Sounds good so far. For all. Sounds great so far. Here's where it gets crazy. And will protect a woman's right to safe and legal murdering their unborn children. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. It says abortion. Legally killing their unborn children is what it should say there. So under appointing judges, they're not even talking about their stances on things like abortion yet. They're bringing it up in their judges section. Now, what I found really funny too, they have a section for veterans. It's about, on a phone, it's about that big. What is that? What's that look like on the screen? About 1.5 inches tall, little paragraph. They have abortion in here. I'm sorry, from now on, abortion in this video will be referred to as murdering of unborn children. So they have murdering of unborn children in here a lot. Here's another paragraph. Democrats are committed to protecting and advancing reproductive health, rights, and justice. We believe unequivocally, like the majority of Americans, which isn't true, but let's just keep going. Well, I'll tell you why it's not true in just a second. That every woman should have access to quality reproductive health care services. It's fine. It starts out great so far. Including safe and illegal murdering of unborn children. That's where it gets hairy again. To assume that a majority of Americans believe in having their people's unborn children murdered, that's a little far-reaching. If I had internet, I could go research some sites and try to find some statistics on that. Unfortunately, I don't have that right now. I might update in a comment if I can find those statistics before my phone dies. But or I might search them right now while I'm discussing this point. But that's kind of ridiculous. They have that explicitly in there. This is their foundation. This is what they as a party believe, and they're talking about killing unborn children. So that is scary. Sorry, trying to multitask. Let's see here. Oh yeah, there's plenty of stuff. I might do a whole video on just these polls. Sorry, there's a lot of information. I don't want to read it live on camera. Well, not live when you see it, but I'm not gonna go through all that information right now. I'm gonna probably do another video on that in the future and break down a lot of those polls, because I just saw like 5 different polls that had 5 different answers and 5 different types of wording. So there's a whole lot of misleading stuff. Oh, and there I did take a picture of talking about our troops and veterans. If you can see that, I'm gonna look. Can you see that? See how little that paragraph is? You see how little that paragraph is? Let me go back to the other one. This is the paragraph that talks about abortion and stuff of that nature. That's pretty, and it keeps going. So this is a screenshot. It just keeps going. Just keeps going down there. pretty big. So you can tell it's a very, very important thing to them, right? And then they, sorry, I'm just reading this again. That's just so sad. So murdering of unborn children. When I say it like that, it doesn't sound very comfortable, right? When I don't name it what has been named. The whole premise of that really centers around giving someone an option to kill their child because of an inconvenience. Because medically, the only reason to have that done would also, you can also have an emergency C-section and potentially save the baby along with the mother. So the whole idea that this is for healthcare and stuff like that, I always thought that doctors had in their doctrine that they were not to do any harm. So it's kind of sad to me that they are. So let me go to scripture real quick because I do want to touch on the biblical view of this. And if you look at Psalm 139, everyone quotes this, but I want to discuss it a little bit. Everyone quotes this as the pro-life section of the Bible right here. But I don't think people go far enough in this verse. So, or in this chapter. So verse 1, Psalms 139, starting in verse 13. You made all the delicate inner parts of my body and knit me together in my mother's womb. Thank you for making me so wonderfully complex. Your workmanship is marvelous. How well I know it. You watched me as I was being formed in utter seclusion, as I was woven together in the dark of the womb. Okay. You saw me before I was born. Every day of my life was recorded in your book. Those two sentences were in verse 16. You saw me before I was born. Every day of my life was recorded in your book. Every moment was laid out before a single day had passed. So this whole section is talking about him being formed in his mother's womb. The entire section. It never says anything about after he's born, you continued to love me, stuff like that. It's literally, this whole section is talking about his days in his mother's womb. So it's very obvious that it's very obvious that God loves us from the very beginning, from the get-go. It's just there's no other conclusion that we could draw from this specific thing. Sorry, I dropped something. Sorry about that. This is going awry, huh? Woohoo! Unedited videos are great, right? So we can see here very clearly that we were important from the beginning. He was laying out every moment. Every day of my life was recorded in your book. Right before it said, you saw me before I was born. So it's pretty obvious to me that God cared before we were born, that we were alive to him before we exited our mother's womb. And that's an important fact to remember. So there's another argument to be made against abortion, and that is one question that I have for you. And this is I could say a smoking gun maybe, but if you ask a liberal, ask anybody, what would constitute life on Mars? We've been searching for life on Mars, right? NASA's been sending all kinds of equipment to Mars. They have the rovers out there gathering information and looking for potential signs of life. If they found just one single-celled organism, they would consider that life. They would say, oh, there's life on Mars. But one single-cell human being at the onset of life is considered expendable and an inconvenience and potentially on the chopping block if the mother so chooses. What's really backwards to me is murder. If you murder a pregnant woman, you get tried for double homicide or triple if she's got twins or more than one baby in there. You are on the hook for that many lives. But the mother can willfully go into a kill unborn children clinic and have that child removed and killed without persecution, without or prosecution. and it's really sad to me. I have 2 children, both under the age of 2. One's under the age of 1. He's only 3-ish months old right now, very young. My daughter's less than 2 months old, or 2 years old. She'll be 2 in February, and the thought of lives that small and even smaller than them being extinguished because of inconvenience. Here's the thing: there are families that can't have kids lining up around the block looking to adopt a newborn baby that someone else doesn't want. Around the block, there's a wait list for that. People want to adopt these children, and we're killing them in the millions. Millions is the numbers. Millions a year are being killed. There's no other real explanation for it. The whole argument behind, oh, it's part of the mother's body, it's all this stuff. Since when has the human body had 2 hearts beating, or 2 brains, or 2 separate nervous systems, or 2 blood types? Science just doesn't back the idea that this isn't a human. If you DNA test it, it's a human. It's a human. So this is one that the Democrats definitely get wrong, and I know that they're doing it in the name of women's health, but they're really naive in that, because there's really not a whole lot of health issues. Now an actual abortion, for stillborn, like a child who's dead in the womb, stuff like that, no one's going to say no to that. No one is against that, and they want to frame this whole thing as, the Christians or the Republicans or the conservatives. They want this cookie cutter world where no abortions happen, and that's just not the case. There are instances where it's appropriate, but killing of a viable child, not appropriate. Not appropriate at all. If you don't want it, put it up for adoption, because it's not an inconvenience, it's a life. So I just want to leave you with that thought, that every life's important, and that God loves every life. And I think that we as a society can do better than this. I really do. So a little controversial of a topic. Part 2 maybe won't be as controversial, but I am almost at 2.5 minutes away from 20 minutes, and I don't know how long YouTube will let me go. So I'm going to call it there. We'll have another topic next time, unless something crazy happens. But until then, stay safe, God bless, and see you later. If you like what you hear, or want to see more of it, or want to have the conversation, every video, I'm sure people want to argue with me. Hit the subscribe button down below. I'll also have a link to my Twitter there, so you can follow my Twitter page that is dealing with these issues on almost a daily basis. Not every day. I'm not able to get it every day, but almost a daily basis I'm on there, making some people upset a little bit. But follow me on Twitter, subscribe here, comment below, let me know what you think. If you want to have a conversation, comment below. If you don't agree with me, I'll be glad to discuss that with you in a mature way. And yeah, have a good night.